This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. This podcast is being brought to you by Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, life coaching at affordable prices. Now, I want to start off today's podcast with a shout out to Major League Baseball. And of course, John Donalo is all ready for the Cleveland Guardians, even though it says Cleveland Indians.
Thanks,
Spring
Karen.
training, spring training has started, and that means our favorite pastime is preparing for another year of fun. So let's go baseball and a personal shout out to the Louisville Bats. Now, Paul, start the show.
Wow. Oh, I almost fell asleep here. I was waiting for so long. It's like being at the airport. Jeez. What a great introduction, Karen. Thank you so much for that. Yes, it's me, Paul Seaburn, host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We're here in Cleveland, Ohio, Northeast Ohio area. It's 12 degrees. That means baseball weather in Cleveland, as Karen pointed out. By the time when meeting starts, we're still freezing our butts off, and that's what we're doing today. So hopefully it's warm where you're at. We won't talk too much about the weather because there's bad weather all over the place, and we don't like to talk about bad things. Just fun stuff on What in the World. If you don't know me, I am the editor and head writer at mysterious's-universe.org. Many of you have found What in the World through Mysterious Universe. Thank you so much for doing that. The stories I do on Mysterious Universe are much more paranormal oriented. On What in the World, we just go for the strange and the weird news from around the world, around the universe. So we try to have fun. That's our goal. 1 hour of fun. So I hope that's why you're here. Forget the bad news. Turn off the mass media. Turn off all that stuff. Listening to strange, unusual, and fun stuff on What in the World. Speaking of fun stuff, that first voice you heard in your ear was media mogul, our producer, co-host Karen Hale, also from Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, our sponsor. newclevelandradio.net is the place to go for your podcast needs. You can find out how to download us. We're free on all the major platforms. Then check out all the rest of the great podcasts that Karen has. Always a nice wide selection. You know, it's not just fun, strange news. She's got all kind of good stuff the kinds of stuff that you need to listen to when you're out on your walk after you tripped over everything listening to us and or our friend Mark down in Austin does, falls off the treadmill. So anyways, that other voice you heard in your ear is another my old buddy, John Donalo, our other co-host, the host of What in the World of Sports. John provides us with our trivia answers. He's got his sports segment. As Karen mentioned, he has his Cleveland Indians, used to be Indians, now Guardians shirt on. His justification is that it refers to the Indians in the Hall of Fame. And are there any Guardians? People of the Guardian area? Is Tommy, was he a crossover or?
Well, no, he would have been a Cleveland Indian still, right? He would have
Okay,
still been a Cleveland Indian, right?
an
So, and
Indian.
Guardians, I don't know how they're going to do that, quite honestly. If a person is with the Guardians and they go in as a Guardian, I guess that would be. We'll have to find that out, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
there are guardian displays at the museum.
Oh,
So
I'm sure. Yeah.
we are now being recognized as the guardians.
Oh,
Okay,
definitely. Yeah.
okay.
Right. Well, we have some great. We have a couple of weird sports stories here. So please stick around during the podcast and also at the end for John's segment to check that out. I heard from our friend Dan down in South Carolina. John, many of you may remember last week, John had a story about a sport that he and I participated in college. And Dan said he enjoyed that immensely. So thanks for contacting us, Jan, Dan, and everybody out there who's listening. I heard from Tim he's down in Florida right now. So glad to hear you're listening, Tim. Let's see, what do we got today? Okay, the world's most expensive license plate. That's our first story from Hong Kong, of all places. Granny criminals around the world. Oh, wait till you hear this. This is uh, it may be a crime wave of grandmothers committing crime. Cougars of another kind down in, get ready, John, Florida. So
Ooh.
for you, yeah.
I better be careful then. I better be careful.
Wait till you
We
hear what they're doing. Uh, Sports left out of the Saturday Night Live special. This is one of the segments that John has. We'll be talking about strange animals in China and stranger noodles in Japan. You know, we love those weird foods from Japan. We've got this is another one for you, John. Beer and voting in Germany. You may want to move to Germany to do your voting booth volunteering after you hear this story. Uh,
okay. All right.
yeah, you'll see. Plus, we got some more odd news. We got world record. We got trivia. John's got multiple sports for us today. So let's get right to it with that first story. Designer license plate. I hate designer license plate, mostly because I can't afford to buy
That's
designer.
what most people's situation is, Paul. Yeah.
Exactly. They cost a fortune. They really do. And you know, they're distracting to the other drivers while I'm trying to figure out, okay, 8LG, what is he trying to say? So and then I run into their bumper and you know, it's always a rich car. It's a Mercedes or something because they can afford the uh, designer plates. So this is a designer plate story from Singapore of all places. It's the world's most expensive designer license plate. There's our logo right there. There's my book. What would you say to a naked space alien? Available on Amazon, also at paulseaburn.com, my website. Okay, let's get to designer license plate. So this for those of you who are listening. We also broadcast on YouTube, and I post a lot of pictures that go along with the story. We'll explain some of them to you for those of you listening, but some of them you just said, you know, it's worth it to see. So these are designer license plates from Texas, license plates from Texas. UH Cougar, you know, that makes sense. Just BU, I don't know what that means. For Yoda, you know, obviously a Star Wars fan. I Heart My 1963, I don't know what kind of car that was. In Texas, I'm surprised it's still on the road. Having driven down there many times. Taco fan, I like that one. So anyway, so these you can get these in Texas. You can also get them in Hong Kong. They are so did I say Hong Kong? They're so expensive in Hong Kong that they have to auction them off. That's how expensive they are. And this is one of them. Okay, here's a picture. The license plate is on the screen over there. It's the single letter S. That's all that's on the license plate. The bidding started at $600. When it was over, and I'm going to use this word, pardon my Yiddish, some schmuck in his audience paid $1.8 million for the right to use,
Why?
because, Karen, because people in Hong Kong apparently are, excuse me, big fans of Superman. And that's what they think. The letter S, when you see it on anything, that symbolizes Superman. So that's why this person, I'm going to say guy because no woman would pay $1.8 million.
Well,
Right? So
there's some pretzel logic with that whole thing, isn't there? Wow.
that's wild, John. You know, I've known people who lived in Hong Kong. Um, you know, I know it's an expensive place to live, but $1.8 million is just absurd. Um, you know, if you ask me, the letter S there stands for sucker or schmuck. And
Oh
here's
boy.
the other thing: since now we know it stands for Superman, what would the Man of Steel think about his initial being on an aluminum plate? They're not even steel plates; they're
Oh
aluminum.
yeah, right. I didn't even think of that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. for $1.8 million, it better come with a list of excuses I can give my wife for why I spent so much money.
It should go with that list. Yeah, I would say
Oh,
so.
you better believe it,
Oh,
John. You know that one.
yes, I
Well,
do.
you can use this one, John. Oh, I was thinking of you. I thought it stood for sweetie. There you go. That won't work.
Try to get me out of the doghouse with that one, right? Yeah, there you
No
go.
way. Now, that
Oh,
wasn't the only one. They were auctioning off a bunch of them. So the one that came in second was 88. 88. Now, what does that stand for, you may ask? It sold for $1.4 million because the number 8 in the Chinese culture means the word fortune. So two eights is double the fortune, I guess.
okay. Wow.
There's there's actually a 88-8888 license plate, which is the most eights you can put on a license plate. It has been owned by the same person for many, many years and never comes up for auction. So, um,
That's an amazing story, Paul. That's amazing.
isn't that wild? This is um, Robin Williams used to say a bowl of cocaine is a sign that you have too much money. Um, and I think a $1.8 million license plate is another sign. So, okay, we go to Japan, to Fukuoka, which is where they had the big nuclear power plant meltdown a number of years ago. So they've cleaned all that up. So this woman in Japan was arrested at a convenience store and charged with destruction of property after she allegedly squashed, maybe squished is the better word, a sweet bun to see if it was fresh. Yes. She squeezed a sweet bun to see if it was fresh, and she was arrested for it. If this was the United States and that was a crime, all of our grandmothers would be in jail right now.
That's right. Wow.
My grandmother used to do that. Everybody's grandmother would squeeze stuff in the grocery store or
Yep.
poke your finger in a piece of candy to see what flavor it was. Or you
That's right. That's
I'm
right.
sure.
So the lady told the cops, if I only pressed it lightly in my hand to check the firmness. I only pressed it lightly in my hand to check the firmness, which is the same thing P. Diddy said when they arrested him.
Oh
Oh,
no. Oh.
We go, I don't care. He's in forever, so I'm not going to worry about him. Um, the store owner said he called the cop because now he can't sell the bun because it had a finger depression in
Hmm.
it. This guy, he doesn't know marketing, John. He should have said that the reason why that finger mark was there is because it was pressed by a celebrity. You should buy this bun. Taylor Swift was just in here, and she pressed her finger into that bun. He could sell it for
That would have been a hit, Paul, for sure. That would have been a hit.
even better, John. Even better. He could have said, you know what? She sat down and she sat on it. That's not her fingerprint.
oh.
Oh, I'm not touching that one.
No, yeah, good move. Good move. All right. Another granny crime here. So if you make it to 104 years old and you still have items left on your bucket list, you should be able to check them off because you probably don't have much more time to do the checking. So when the Livingston County Sheriff's Office in New York heard that a lady named Loretta was turning 104 years old, they immediately showed up at her nursing home, arrested her, and locked her up in jail. Why? Because her being in jail was on her bucket list.
Oh my
Here,
God. No way.
Wow.
yes, Karen, it's true. Here she is with the handcuffs they use. A huge pair of handcuffs on this little old lady. Plus, there's chains that they wrapped around her. Like she's P. Diddy here. I don't know what she did, but she couldn't do a perp walk because she's in a wheelchair. So they had to do a perp
Right.
wheel into the place. Here she is with the drug sniffing dog. So sniffing dog sniffer, and they didn't find any gummies. That was what they were looking for. They figured she'd be 104 years old, nursing home. She's got to be loaded with gummies, but she tested positive for Geritol, baby aspirins, and Vicks Vapor Rub. So who knew that
Oh
drug
my.
sniffing dogs could find that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no
So
kidding. Wow.
she didn't commit a crime, obviously. She was on her bucket list. She wanted to see what it looked like. She's so old, she probably thought that the jail was like the jail in the Mayberry jail on the Andy Griffith show. You remember that?
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
Yes.
was nice.
sure.
Yep.
Oh, it had framed pictures on the wall. There was a little vase of flowers on the table next to the bed. The bed made. That's what she's thinking. It's like it's Sheriff, like Otis used to sleep in.
Oh yes.
Oh, you
Remember
remember
Otis?
Otis the drunk? That's what they
Sure,
used to
sure.
call him. She probably thought that the key was on a hook right next to the bars, so she could
Yep.
just reach out and open it up and leave when she was ready to leave.
Oh my.
What a creation that was. Um, I remember one episode where they picked Otis up, and on the way to the jail they stopped at his house. It was a Saturday night. They stopped at his house so he could pick up a suit. So when he woke up on Sunday morning, he'd already have his suit so he could go to church the
Oh
next day.
my.
That's how accommodating they were on this show.
Sure.
So I had to look up Otis, who was played by a guy named Hal Smith, who was a great character actor, but even more, he was a pilot during World War II in the Philippines. So, our impression of him is Otis the drunk. This guy was a World War II hero. Um, he was also a big voiceover actor after he left the Andy Griffith show. He was the voice of the Disney cartoon character Goofy after the original guy passed away. So from 1967 until 1983, he was the voice of Goofy for Disney.
Oh, I
Uh,
didn't know that. Wow.
I didn't either, John. I think I just thought that was like Foster Brooks. He was good at playing
He's like
drunk.
right,
Yeah.
Foster Brooks type character. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Loretta, getting back to our star of the 104-year-old Loretta was eventually released and taken back to the nursing home where she could check off her bucket list. Uh, they warned her to lay off the Geritol, though. So, so
I.
did you know? Now we all know we're all of the age where we remember what Geritol was. Um,
Yep.
Geritol, it was advertised on everything. I'm going to give you a show that you'll never believe. But it came out in 1950. Here's a picture of it, Geritol. It's iron supplement. So it contains iron and 12% alcohol. So it's 24 proof. And some kind of B vitamins, but nobody, B1, B2, nobody bought it for that. They bought for the 12%. And John and Karen and everybody out there, if you're of the age, you remember the ad. It said, Geritol, twice the iron in a pound of what, John?
Liver?
Liver, pound of calf's liver. That's right. Twice the
Wow.
iron in a pound of calf liver. I'd much rather drink a shot of 12% Geritol than a pound of calf's liver.
Oh, I tell you, I'm right with you on that for sure. Oh my.
Believe it or not, it was also one of the sponsors on the original Star Trek series. Back in 1967, Geritol was one of the sponsors.
Wow.
So they sold it because it relieved iron poor blood. That was their pitch. Relieves iron poor blood. So if you think you have iron poor blood, you bought Geritol. They were sued. They were not just sued. They were fined. They were found guilty and fined by the Federal Trade Commission for $812,000. I forget what year, but that's equivalent to $5.5 million in today's money for saying that there is such a thing as iron poor blood. There is no such thing. You can still get it. You can get it at the finer drugstores, Walgreens and those places. You can get it at your favorite bar behind the counter. You have to ask for it.
Oh my.
And And for people like Loretta in the nursing home, you can get it in gummies, and you can also get it for your vape. So, um,
Oh my.
you want to try Geritol? That's for you, John. Iron Poor Blood.
Oh boy, I don't know. I think I'm going to steer clear of
Uh,
that.
okay, so speaking of television, many of us of our age and younger, because it's been on for 50 years, watched the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special. There were a number of them over the weekend. There was the show on Sunday night with all of the the many uh, players came back. There was the music show. John and I saw that where they showed all the bands, many of the bands that played on the show. Just for all of us that watched that show, 50 years, it was a great thing to watch. But I noticed something while I was watching it, and that is that many of my favorite hosts were sports figures, and the I talked to John, and John said, "Yeah, you're right. They didn't show any of the sports figures." Um, so I said, "John, do you remember any of those sports figures?" And John, what did you say?
Well, that's right, Paul, because it seemed like all we saw was Peyton Manning,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's on TV more than the snow warnings in Cleveland right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Enough Peyton Manning. So enough Peyton Manning. I didn't want to see him anyways. So John, so we, so John, what in the world? We heard your plea and my plea, the producers of the show, and they decided to give you the opportunity to talk about some of the famous sports figures that were host on the show.
Oh, I'm more than willing to share that with everyone here. So, um, let's start with the first athlete to host the show.
Okay, we'll give everybody a chance to guess who that was.
Yeah,
Okay,
give him a chance to guess. The year was 1977. The date was January 29th, and that person was a pro football player. It was Minnesota Vikings quarterback Fran Tarkenton, and in 1977, that was season number 2 for
wow,
SNL.
I
Wow.
remember,
Now,
I
yeah,
remember that show. He did a good job for being
yeah, I
a.
thought so. Yeah, he was very eloquent. The tallest host and the first basketball player was Bill Russell, and that was in 1979.
1979. So that was like season three or season four. But yeah,
Would be season four. Be season four. The first baseball player, you'll find this very interesting, was none other than Bob Uecker, and that was in
Really?
1984. And if you recall, Bob just passed away. He made it to the 90s, and again,
yeah.
really a good symbol of Major League Baseball. The
And
first,
technically, yeah, he was a baseball player. Yeah.
he was a player too, yes, yes, but no, more known as the announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the first wrestler was, no surprise with this one, Hulk Hogan. Now, the year, however, was 1985.
Wow. 10 years.
1985. The first female athlete was tennis great Chris Evert, and Chris hosted the show in 1989.
Wow, that was a long time.
Oh,
I was
sure.
thinking there were a lot of other female athletes, famous female athletes at that time that could have hosted, but she well deserved, well
Oh,
deserved. I
well
think
deserved. Oh, of course.
she did a good
And
job too. Yeah.
sure. And you'll might find everyone will find this interesting. The athlete who hosted the most times was Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who hosted it a total of 5 times.
Wow.
And if you don't consider pro wrestling to be a sport, which a lot of people don't, NBA star Charles Barkley, he hosted Saturday Night Live a total of 4 times.
Wow.
Interesting.
He's good. He's a good host. Yeah.
Sure. This last one, I have to take it with a little bit of provision here. Uh, this is the only combination athlete, and I'm going to say it, murderer to host the show, and that was
Uh-huh.
O.J. Simpson in
Whoa.
1978.
Wow.
Apologize to Mr. Simpson and his family.
Oh, okay, John. uh, John Mulaney was on the show on Sunday night, and he mentioned, he says, I can't believe that there were 800. He said there was like 860 people have hosted the show, and only two turned out to be murderers. And I was, Alec Baldwin was in the audience, but he's been acquitted of the incident that he was involved in. I was trying to think who were the other murderers, and I looked, and O.J. Simpson was one. The other one was not an athlete, but he was someone who I was a big fan of, and that was Robert Blake.
Oh,
Robert
yeah.
Blake,
Oh, the
yeah,
actor, sure.
yeah, he was he hosted when he was on the show Beretta. He was a star of the show Beretta. He went all the way back to the Little Rascals. He was on the Little Rascals in the R Gang back in the 40s. So yeah, he was convicted of murdering his wife. So, oh, but not to bring the end this on a downer, but those were great. I can't believe that. What a good segment, John. Thank you so
Oh,
much. Those
thanks, Paul. And Karen. Thanks, and
memories
audience for that
the show.
matter.
Okay,
Sure.
but we'll have John back with another sports segment at the end of the show. But in the meantime, an office worker in Badung City, Iowa, Indonesia. Oh, long way. Boy, there's a Freudian slip there. Indonesia. He regretted. It's a she. She regretted playing around with her new meshed back office chair when her nose ring got caught in the mesh, and she had to be taken to the local fire department, where they finally managed to free her. Yeah, with pliers. They talked to one of the other ladies who worked there, and she says, "I'm glad I let her try it first." Of course, this lady had a nipple ring. So
Oh boy.
Whoa.
I would have liked to have a picture of them, but unfortunately, all we have is a picture of the lady with her nose ring stuck in the chair. In her
Oh
honor,
my.
in her honor, at that office, the last day of the week is now known as Casualty Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, got the heart for that one, Paul. Come on now.
So
Thank you.
you'll love this, John. All of you who have worked in offices, my favorite part, the firefighters had such a good job. They had so much fun with it. I can't believe they couldn't remove it from her while they were in the office, but they wheeled her. She sat on a chair backward, and they wheeled her into the EMS vehicle, wheeled her to the station, and then they finally used pliers to. Here's a picture of her on the chair while they're wheeling her.
Wow.
They messed with her mind. This is the best part. They told her, we can't get your nose out, and this is a picture of a firefighter with a chainsaw.
Oh my God.
That's kind of a sick joke, if you ask me.
You gotta
Oh.
love firefighters. They do such a good job. Once in a while, they deserve to have some fun. So they actually did get her out. Here's a picture of the lady with holding the nose ring in her hand, not back in her nose. And
All's well that ends well, I guess, right? Okay.
yeah. So John, we were talking about working in an office before. I can just imagine. What do you think she had to say to HR when she said, "Oh, and by the way, I need a new office chair because mine's got a."
That's Paul, and Karen, that's very dicey to say the least.
Oh yeah,
You also notice she's standing there barefoot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you're right, Karen. Yeah, right. Wow.
Oh, good eye, Karen.
This woman has some problems.
Either that or either that or this is she worked for a computer company where you can
Right.
I can just see this her going to the HR person. I need a new chair because my nose ring got caught in the chair. And
Wow.
HR saying, "What were you doing sniffing your chair?"
Yeah.
And it goes downhill from there. So
Yeah, no kidding.
oh man. So if you work in an office, you normally don't have time for lunch these days. So you make ramen noodles in the microwave. I mean, yeah, it's been a long time since I worked in an office. We were eating ramen noodles way back when. So everybody eats ramen noodles. People in Japan demanded a special request noodle. So the company that makes them, My Ojo Foods, has brought back Get ready for this. Strawberry shortcake flavored ramen noodles
Oh no, no.
with even more sweetness than before. So
Oh,
they discontinued it and people missed it so much they brought it back. If you're if you're
I'll tell you,
craving
wait a minute, wait a second. Some things in the world are just wrong. Wait a minute. Some things in the world are just wrong. That's wrong. I'm sorry.
well, wait, it gets better. I mean, if you're craving strawberry shortcake and ramen noodles, perhaps a better choice at lunchtime would be to take a pregnancy test because
Oh my.
actually they gave it to, oh, here's a picture of it. So this is what it looks like after the water is added. So there's
ugh.
little chunks of strawberry. Before that, it's just a block of dried noodles like you always get, and then a white spot on it, which when you add water magically turns red and releases all the sugar and all the other terrible things that are in this stuff here. This taste tester said it tasted so bad that strawberry should sue for defamation.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Wow.
Strawberry noodles, strawberry noodles. John, I don't know if you remember this. I think we saw strawberry noodles open for strawberry alarm clock back in the day.
The strawberry alarm clock rings a bell, Paul, but I have to tell you, I don't think the strawberry ramen noodles does.
Oh, John, you were a huge fan of strawberry alarm clock. I remember that. What was their biggest hit?
Was incense and peppermints.
Incense and peppermint. That's right. Um, the 1967 that song came out. Oh, there's one of the taste testers. I think I might have. Yeah, there we go. There's the cover of Incense and Peppermint by the Strawberry Alarm Clock. Obviously, a very hippie group. 1967. They were not eating ramen noodles. They were eating
You don't
or
want to say what they were eating, don't they?
so, but they were so big with that song and that album. They
Oh yeah.
yeah, 67 and 68, they toured with the Beach Boys and Buffalo Springfield. And they were not the bottom of the tour of the list. They were in the middle. I think the Beach Boys were number one, followed by Strawberry Alarm Clock, followed by Buffalo Springfield.
All right.
Now, they were not a one-hit wonder. You could call them maybe a one and a half hit wonder because they had a hit with a cover song. They covered Good Morning Starshine. Okay, John, what musical did Good Morning Starshine come from?
Possibly hair.
Hair. John, yeah, I remember you talked about Hair all the time because they had naked people in it. You didn't even care about the music. I remember
Well,
that.
I mean, at that time, I was very interested in naked people. So, I mean, in a good way, please.
Oh, so you're not now anymore. You're over that phase?
I have no comment on that. I have no comment on
Okay. Okay. So,
that.
oh,
Oh,
well, we're gonna have to edit that part out there. So they were not known for Good Morning Starshine. Somebody else sang the song and had a much bigger hit. And I'll give you a hint. He was one of those one name people before one name people was popular. Do you remember who good what was the song? Good Morning Starshine was a hit for.
was that Nilsson?
Oh, good, close. And Nilsson, by the way, was also known as Harry Nilsson. But this guy was Oliver. That's
Oh
all he.
yeah, okay, all right. I kind of remember that now. Okay,
Yeah. Good Morning Starshine. He was also a one and a half, maybe a two-hit wonder. He also sang the song Gene. And I had to play it on YouTube because it goes Gene, Gene, na, 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 na. It was from the Oscar-winning film, and I'm not going to ask you to guess this one because it's really obscure. It was the theme from the prime of Miss Jean Brodie. So
remember
a
the
trip
movie though? Okay, sure. Wow.
for our friends of a certain age, a trip back to the 60s, incense and peppermint, strawberry alarm clock, prime of Miss Jean Brodie, hair. We had it all there. John thinking about naked people. We got to get John back on track now here. So we
I'll be
got to know.
back to the sport. I'll be back to sports later in the show, so if things will be back to normal. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Another food story. So a company making a profit from the egg shortage is Rent the Chicken. Oh, I don't know. I don't have a picture of their thing here. They offer 6 month rentals of chicken coops and chickens. Everything you need to have backyard chicken. But if you don't want to spend the money, they will bring it to you. They'll set it up. They'll put the chickens in it. They'll put their sign on it. They'll give you instructions. Yeah, all you have to do is go out there and get the eggs every day. Um, which sounds like a great idea until your neighbor gets tired of the smell and the noise and he goes to rent the fox and there goes your chickens. Um,
Wow.
Believe it or not, at the end of 6 months, if you want to keep it, if you're hooked on chickens and eggs, you can buy the entire outfit. If not, they'll come back out and they'll pick it up and they'll take it and give it to and rent it to somebody else. Um, the one thing though, you have to pay a deposit, and if they come back and they find out that the only way those chickens will lay eggs now is if somebody stands over them and says, "Lay some eggs, you damn chickens." Um,
Oh man. Oh
you don't
man.
get your deposit back.
No. Wow.
So I thought that was wild. Now here's a good one here from Chile. Well, we're all over the world here. Man kayaking off the coast of Chile. This is hot on the internet, by the way. Off the coast of Chile, kayaking was swallowed by a humpback whale, and I do have a photo of that there. There he is in the kayak, and then there's the whale, and there's the upside down kayak, and he's inside the whale. Um, so luckily, the whale spit him back out, and he was able to get picked up by his father, who was in another kayak, not trying to rescue him, but taking a video of him because he knew they would, if whether the kid made it or not, he was going to make a fortune on YouTube with this video. Um, so the guy said they interviewed him after it was all over, and he said that his life flashed before his eye, and it only slowed down when he was flushing goldfish down the toilet because
Oh.
oh man, I feel guilty about this when I'm in the mouth of a whale. Um, the male whale, it was a male whale, was seen, by the way. He would hook back up with his pod. That's what they call a group of whales. And
Hmm.
he was bragging about this 10-foot tall man that got away. So, males are, we're
Oh
all over.
my.
Um, so that was it. The guy, you can hear on the video his father saying, "Stay calm," while he takes the video. What a nice guy. This is not like Jonah. Remember Jonah from the Bible?
Sure.
If Yeah, but
Sure.
we always called it, Jonah got swallowed by a whale. But the true interpretation is that he was swallowed by a giant fish, not by a whale, which means that after 3 days, when the giant fish finally spit Jonah out and he shows up at home, his wife takes one whiff and says, "What, did you work for 3 days at Red Lobster? Why do you smell so bad?"
Ah, good one, Paul. Good one.
So here's another animal story. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. It's a Chinese zoo story. You remember we had a couple of stories recently. Zoos in China, they painted dogs to look like pandas. Then they painted dogs to look like tigers. Well, now they painted a dog to look like painted a donkey to look like a zebra. There's a picture of it. Um, the you know it's a terrible paint job. It shows how behind
Yeah, I'd say so.
yeah.
Wow.
I think they were watching Three Stooges movies when they got this idea because that looked like a Three
Oh,
Stooges sketch there. You could get a better paint job than that at Earl Scheib, and that
I knew you were going there, Paul, with that. I
Yes,
knew you were
sir.
going. We're going to
in
Earl
our
Shive on
age
that one.
group,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Sure, sure.
So Earl Scheib, we've talked about Earl Scheib on the show. I'll paint any car, any color, $29.95. Uh, he started out at a gas station, and he pumped gas during the day, and he worked on painted cars at night. And he ended up being a multimillionaire with branches all over the country. You know, with commercials, he had commercials. Everybody knew them. I'm Earl Scheib. I'll paint any car, any color, $29.95. No ups, no extras. which meant if you wanted to see out your front window after your car was painted, right, John? You
You had
had
to
to
have
pay.
tape, put the tape over it. So again,
Right.
that's
That's
right.
right.
Oh,
Pay
he was
extra.
an important figure in advertising in the 1960s. Easily, he
Not
was.
only that, yeah, he was. Johnny Carson did a number of jokes about Earl Scheib on the Tonight Show. That's how universal he was. Uh,
Yes, yes, he was.
yeah, 1984 for the Olympics were in Los Angeles, and Johnny Carson did a joke, and the punchline was that the smog is so bad we should call Earl Scheib and see if he'll paint it for $89.99. Uh, yeah, yeah,
Oh my.
yeah. Sold the name. You can still find him, but his estate sold the name after he passed away. Okay, John, this one's for you. Uh, a poll worker, because John, some of us know if it's election time, John's not always on the show because he's working the polls. Officials in the German city of Duisburg are trying to get more voters to participate in the elections by offering, get ready for this, free beer. Oh, it is free beer. There he is. Um, the This is the mayor, I guess. He For anyone who votes at the polling place, you get a free Koenig Pilsener beer, or if you prefer a non-alcoholic beer or another beverage. For those worried that there might be paperwork involved, Koenig's new election slogan is "Taste great, less filing."
Hey,
Want
Paul,
that?
I'm just hopeful. I'm just hopeful that the voters obviously take advantage of the beverage after they vote, not before.
Unlike in the United States, that's right. I mean, if this were legal, John, we'd have record turnouts, record turnouts.
Oh, I think you'd have more than we have now. Sure.
Yeah, and on the Tuesday on election day, we would have the worst beer shortage since the Super Bowl went into overtime.
No,
Uh,
I agree with you on that.
oh
Oh
my
my.
God! So they said it worked, kind of. They just had an election and they had a 95% turnout. This is true. They had a 95% turnout, up from 67% was the previous, so 30% more. Uh, but the mayor's race, which was the big one, was a dead heat between two write-in candidates, a Mr. Bud Weiser and a Clyde S. Dale. So I think you
uh,
were right, Scott. I think they were dipping into the beer before the election.
certainly sounds like it, Paul.
Yeah. So, because the cost of eggs are so high, some bodegas in New York, the little convenience stores that are everywhere in New York, they call them bodegas there, are selling loose eggs for $2.99 for a little bag of three. Loose, so you can buy raw eggs, bag of three, $2.99 at a bodega, all over the place. Now, that's okay, but we're in real trouble if the bodegas start making money and they decide to bring in a cow and sell squirt. You know, that's a squirt. Um, I'm staying away from that. So, why did the chicken cross Fifth Avenue, you may ask? Because the bodega on the other side was paying more. Um,
Oh, geez.
there you go. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Technically, yeah, this is illegal, technically. Like you're not allowed to sell single cigarettes in
Right,
bodegas.
right. That's a law in a lot of states, I think.
Well,
Yes.
it's supposed to be unless they're cooked. You can sell single ones if they're cooked. So they've been putting them in an empty glass and saying that there was a do-it-yourself protein drink, like Rocky used to drink during the Rocky movies.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're buying them and you're making breakfast for one, you got to get some other stuff too. So they got to start selling, bacon by the slice, maybe two slices of bread. And then if you've ever been in a New York apartment, they're so tiny. Then they'll sell you a little Bic lighter so you can cook it. Um,
How true.
Such the possibilities. Wow.
oh yeah, oh those apartments are tiny there. So all right, one more for you, John, and anybody and all of our friends down there in Florida. Don and Ron and Tim and Shirley are down there as well. All our Florida listeners, get ready for this. Biologist from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission captured the heaviest panther ever recorded in that state. Panthers normally range from 60 to 160 pounds down in Florida. This one weighed 166 pounds. This is not a
Wow.
the photo was a little gross because he was drugged up and but that's a real Florida panther right there next to a real Florida freeway. Um, if the state officials were smart down there, what they do is they'd issue a public service announcement warning that these Florida panthers got fat and lazy by chasing slow-moving drivers with their turn signals always on. So, and I heard from a number of people in Florida who said, "Yeah, that's right."
Oh
So
my.
obviously they're not slow-moving drivers. Based on the size of its belly, it had a huge belly. They think it may have even been a northern panther that moved south for the winter. So um, I don't know, So
A pretty imposing picture of that creature
Yes.
there. You don't want to
there's
mess with a
not
panther.
many, John. I know there's nowhere near as many as there are alligators, but
Oh,
there's
sure, of
enough.
course. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
It,
Isn't it interesting how you can get a beautiful close-up picture of this animal, but you can't get a beautiful close-up picture of Bigfoot?
Karen, I'm right with you on that. Of course, you know that I'm always complaining about the photos of the
That's right.
Bigfoot, but
yeah.
that's a perfect picture of that panther. That's
Oh,
Yep.
it
exactly
is.
right.
Yeah, I know. It's a my friend Don down in Florida. He's a big outdoorsman, not a hunter as much as he just likes being outdoors. But he has huge dogs, and he says he knows there's a panther around if his dogs won't go outside. And then he's got to find like 3 days worth of newspapers to put on the floor for
Yeah.
one.
So it goes, right?
Thank God they're
Oh,
paper trained. Yeah, that's right. So.
sure.
Yeah, good point, Karen. Beautiful, beautiful animal, endangered species in Florida, but they are coming back. So just like they are in California as well. So we got to take care of these creatures before they're all gone. So speaking of taking care of creatures before they're all gone, that means it's time for what in the world is sports?
Hey, that's a kind of a dubious introduction, Paul, I would have to say.
That's right. There's his logo. What in the world of sports with my old buddy John Donalo. Regular listeners know that John and I go back to our college days. We're fraternity brothers. John knows more about sports than anybody I ever met, so this is the perfect segment for him. Every week I call John. I say, John, we need a good weird sport for what in the world of sports. One that's a real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. John always manages to find one. This one again. John and I have a personal connection to this in more ways than one. So, John, why don't you explain the sport and our connection to it? I
Yeah,
think every
Paul. Well, I definitely will. Sure. Thank you. Thanks for the intro. So, our sport this week is very unusual, to say the very least. In fact, its main qualification as a sport is that it has a world championship sanctioned by an official organization. That's for you, Karen. That sport is, get ready for this, the World Beard and Mustache Championships.
Wow.
Let me explain. The World Beard and Mustache Championships is a biennial competition overseen by the World Beard and Mustache Association, or the WBMA, in which beards and mustaches are judged in various categories and brackets. The first
now
championship, yeah,
uh,
go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
regular listeners and those who watch us on YouTube know that I do have a full beard. John occasionally has something on his face. I think these
A goatee from time to time, and previously a beard, a full beard, as a matter of
yeah,
fact.
yeah. So anyway,
But
that's our personal connection.
that's correct, Paul. That's right. Now, but
Continue.
the first championship took place in Hoffen and der Enns, Germany in 1990.
Wow.
But since 2007, the official World Beard and Mustache Championships have been held every 2 years, in odd years. The 2025 World Beard and Mustache Championships will be held in Pittsburgh, PA, July 3, July 4, and July 5.
Oh,
Those of you
wow.
in those of you in Cleveland, it's only a 2-hour car ride to get to Pittsburgh to see this scintillating event.
Oh,
Now,
boy, yeah.
now wait. Now, there are three categories for everyone that's interested. There are three categories of facial hair. Mustache is one, partial beard is two, and three is full beard. Now,
Okay.
each bracket is broken into individual categories. For example, there are usually 17 or 18 categories, but
Wow.
in 2017 there was a change, and the WBMC had 27 categories when it was opened up to craft beards, wickers, and ladies.
Whiskers.
So,
Oh, and
it was
ladies. And
yes,
ladies.
well, ladies as
Whoa.
well. It's female competition as well. Now,
Wow.
in the mustache category, we have number one, the natural. Number
Okay.
two is the English mustache, which is slender, long hairs pulled to the side.
That's what we have a picture of here, the English
Yes, that
mustache.
gent. Now, the Dali, which was made famous by the artist Salvador Dali. Good picture of Salvador there. The Imperial, which is small and bushy and arches up
Oh,
like a handlebar. That's the Imperial. That's the Imperial.
Wow.
The Hungarian, which is big and bushy and pulled to the side. And lastly, the freestyle mustache for those whose hair is so weird that it doesn't fit anywhere else. Love that cat. Love that
A
category.
lot of
Okay.
people have trouble growing mustaches. I
Right.
understand that. Okay,
Sure,
so the
sure.
freestyle, right?
So,
Wow,
so,
that's interesting.
so that's the mustache category for
Mustache.
ladies and gentlemen. Now, next is the partial beard category. The natural goatee is hair grown only on the chin, upper, and lower lip. That gent's got a nice looking goatee there. The Chinese chin is shaved with mustache tips being long, as it is in that photo, or that drawing, I should say. Musketeer with the mustache long and slender, and the beard small and pointed.
Oh, like the old Three Musketeers. That's right.
Yes, yes, that's correct. Now,
Yeah.
the imperial is hair to be grown only on the cheeks and upper lip. Looks
I
like
don't.
Pierce
I'm
Brosnan
not,
there.
that
That's who
was
that looks like.
showed up,
Yeah.
yeah, for the Imperial. I'm not sure. That looks more like a Civil War. But
Yeah,
that's
right. Yeah, it was more of a Civil War time facial hair. Sideburns freestyle. All other sideburns with shaved chin.
okay.
And then
Wow.
there's the Alaskan Whaler, which is a beard and no mustache, kind of an Amish look, as we see here
It's very
this
popular.
gentleman in this photo.
Yeah, I see a lot of
Okay.
the young kids wearing these. I thought it was ZZ Top, but ZZ Top, those guys had mustaches too, I think.
Yes, and then the freestyle, which is a partial beard, what you see sometimes with individuals that will have them like on their cheeks, but they're thin and they're
Uh,
like contoured, if you will. That's the freestyle. The
okay.
final category is the full beard category, and there is the natural. Not sure if we have a photo of that. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
it.
like
That's
the
good.
this is
Okay.
the I think.
Right. And then here's a little Italian influence for everybody. The Verdi, which is
Yeah.
short and round.
Okay.
Then the Garibaldi, which is full and round.
There you go. There's another Italian there.
And then the natural full beard with a styled mustache. Styled
Yeah,
mustache.
there you go. Wow.
And then lastly, there's a freestyle category for the fear.
oh my God.
I, for lack of a better expression, make your own call with that starfish like
Yeah,
beard there. For those of us
there's,
who can see that, take
this
some
guy,
time to work on that, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he stuck his face in a curling machine or
So in closing, as in other sports, no performance enhancing drugs or aids are allowed. That means no minoxidil, no extensions, and no using your wife's eyelash brush. That's a no-no.
Oh,
And finally, the judges asked that all contestants refrain from eating spaghetti before the competition, and then please withdraw if your nose is running.
oh,
Oh,
Hey, it takes
yeah.
all kinds. What's
Yep.
the expression? It takes all kinds. All right.
it's the commissioner. That's right. You gotta abide by the rules. Boy, for those of you who are not watching on YouTube, please check us out on YouTube just for some of the funny pictures of these mustaches and beards. There's whole collections of them. Or look them up on the internet. The international what is it? The
Yeah,
World Beard
it's
and
the world. Yes, it's the World Beard and Mustache Association, and the
which is
acronym is
yeah.
WBMA.
Yep,
Wow.
2025. There you go. There's the official poster with the three rivers back there, the two bridges of the three bridges in Pittsburgh.
There you
So
go.
yeah, that's right. Good, good sport, John. I guess you're right. Technically, it qualifies as a sport. Um, However, I was thinking, I'd never heard of this being a sport. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, way back when we were in college, we participated in some sort of beard and mustache competition. Maybe freshman year. I don't know. Do you remember that?
You know, vaguely, it's almost like it's over 50 years ago. So, no secret there for how old we are. But Paul, help me out on this one. Help
Well,
everyone out
John,
on this one.
as I mentioned, John and I were in a fraternity. The older brothers always picked on the two of us. So they were somebody challenged us to a beard and mustache competition. So they said, John and Paul, you guys need to come up with a beard and mustache team. So we always misunderstood exactly what that meant. So we thought that we were supposed to design our beards at that time with our school colors. A team. That was the team that we knew of. So here's a picture. Our school colors were what, John? Do you remember?
Yes, they were gold and blue, gold and
Blue and
blue.
gold. Yeah, blue and gold. So here's John with the blue and gold. He did a nice job. There's a nice blue and gold right there. I, on the
Repre-
other hand, yeah, I may have been taken. I may have gotten into some mushrooms that day, and I couldn't find blue, or maybe I got the blue and the gold mixed up. So I ended up with blue and yellow and green of some sort there. Um, so we went back to the older brothers, and they said, "You idiot," as they always said. We want you to form a team, not to be the team colors. So John and I ran back to my room, and we came up with our team, the beard team, and here we go. We joined our beards together.
Oh my God. Yep.
So we
I remember this now. I remember it clearly now that I see the photo. Yes, absolutely.
That's Lake Erie in the background there, John.
Yeah, right.
Kind of a different view of Lake Erie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. Well, great story. I'm glad you finally remembered that competition and super sport, which means that it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Oh, yeah, I don't think I even mentioned it at the beginning. The We love playing Bluff the co-host. Real simple sport. Sorry, I guess it's a sport. I have three stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all day. One big difference. Those were real. These may be real, they may be a bluff, and it's up to you, John and Karen, to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number one. They say you can brew beer out of anything, but a craft brewery in Singapore is testing the limits of that theory by making an IPA out of hair collected from barbershops and salons. The idea began with a barber who had an interest in craft brewing and recycling, and he had a lot of hair swept up and thrown away every day. Instead of doing that, he collected the hair, washed and sterilized it, ground it up, added some yeast and other ingredients, and waited. The end result is not only tasty, but has more protein than regular beer and, not surprisingly, makes a good head. He's now separating the hair by color and is hoping to make red, blonde, brunette, and black hair beer. If you're in Singapore, look for hair beer at barbershops, salons, stores, and bars everywhere. Okay, so the barber in Singapore who decided to see if he could make hair out of beer, and now he's making a fortune selling hair beer. Real or bluff? We'll start with you, Karen.
Well, I have to say, it's probably one of your more disgusting stories you've shared with us. And I know that you have a wild imagination, but I can't believe you'd come up with something like this. So sadly, I'm going to say it's real.
Wow. Okay. Karen says it's real.
And I'm
After that,
gagging.
you should see the look on her face. Yeah, I thought we were doing good by not having any cow patty stories this week. Okay,
Oh,
so
really?
Karen,
Yeah.
the real story. John, how about you?
Well, I'm gonna have to say this is a bluff because I just think it's too gross. I mean, going to that line of thinking that people would do something like this. I mean, there's a lot of strangeness in the world, a lot of weird things, but I just find this really disgusting.
So you're saying that your best buddy from college wrote a very disgusting story.
Yes, that's true, Karen, because I mean, yeah, and it's nothing, yeah, nothing personal, Paul, of course, but I mean, to me, let's put it this way: if this is real, my faith in humanity has really taken a turn for the worst.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, the pressure is really on here. So John says it's a bluff. Karen says that's a real story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, "Congratulations on that one. Go to John. That
Thank
is a
goodness.
it's a bluff." And I
All
checked
right, good. My
as
faith in humanity is restored.
yeah, I checked to
Where
make
did you
sure.
come up with that?
I don't. I was eating those mushrooms again. I guess I don't.
Yeah. Oh my.
Air beer. Okay, I'm not even going to ask if John would try that. I know. I know.
You have the
Oh,
answer on that one. You have
all
the
right.
answer
Well,
on that one.
John's in the lead story with the score of 1-0. So let's get right to story number two. A man in India calls himself the human calculator, but it's not because he's good at math, although that's part of it. The computer analyst has a keyboard tattooed on his back. And one night, his girlfriend started playfully poking at the keys. The man amazed her when he correctly identified the keys as soon as she touched them. Even more amazingly, he could even spell out the words. But when he was able to add up the numbers as she punched them on the numeric pad tattoo, she convinced him to try out for India's Got Talent. While he didn't get past the first round, the judges dubbed him the human calculator, and he now has a nice side gig entertaining people at bars and parties, demonstrating his skill. Unfortunately, he broke up with his girlfriend, so he's hoping it also helps him meet new women too. Okay, so the man with a tattoo of a keyboard on his back where he can tell what keys you press and even add up the numbers as you press them on the keypad, which makes him the human calculator. Real or bluff, John? We'll start with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul and Karen, this is a tough one because it could go either way, obviously. If my first reaction was this cannot be real, but now the more I think of it, anything's possible. So I'm going to say it's a true story.
Okay, John says it's a true story. Karen, how about you?
Yeah, it sounds like it could be because, he knows what the keyboard is. So based on where you're touching, yeah, I'm going to say it's true. Wild but true.
Wild but true. Okay, so both John and Karen say that the human calculator with the tattoo on his back of a keyboard is true. Let's check with the judges. The judges say sorry, that's a bluff as well.
Oh,
Well,
geez.
you have
Really?
been very creative this week.
Yes, that's a good point, Karen. He has been very creative.
Anymore. Good idea. That was I somebody out there who wants to prove me wrong and turn that bluff into a real story. You're open. We'll put you on What in the World. Go ahead.
Yep.
Have it. Okay. Score still 1-0. John's in the lead. So points are doubled in round number 3, which means Karen could vault into the lead and win the game if she gets this one. So let's see what she can do. On the list of strange jobs, sitting near the top has to be mummy sniffer. This is a real position at the University of London, where a few brave Egyptologists have branched into mummy sniffing in order to better understand how ancient Egyptians mummified their rulers and nobility 5,000 years ago. The mummy sniffers must learn to separate the smell of perfumes, oils, and waxes used in mummification from the smells of bacteria, mold, pesticides, and other products used to preserve the mummies. Believe it or not, there is actually a waiting list to get into the training program because the pay is good and the mummies smell better than you might think. If you're interested, the University of London, call the University of London, watch their website, and keep your nose in your Egyptology books. Okay, so job at the University of London, mummy sniffer, real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
I surely hope it's a bluff because I don't think anybody wants to smell anything that ancient.
Okay, Karen says mummy sniffer is a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm with Karen on this one too because just for the idea, that's gross. Also, how did I understand that if this is true, they're trying to further science. I understand that, but the way they have to do it like that, I don't know who would sign up for that. Well, I'm going to say it's a bluff and hope that's what it is.
Okay, so John says it's a bluff. Karen says it's a bluff. They can't imagine anybody doing sniffing mummies. They will check with the judges, and the judges say, go to the website and go to the jobs page, and there is a mummy sniffer. Not one, but many mummy sniffers. They're not allowed to use penetrating devices on the mummies, so they have to use a natural way to determine what the mummies smell like, and they use their noses. It's honest to God true. I couldn't believe it myself, but that's a real job, mummy sniffer.
Wow.
No wonder I'm
Well,
out of work.
Well, as you would say, Paul, we all learn something new every day on What in the World.
I know,
and that's something we did learn there.
Fortunately for John, and also for his lovely wife Annette, John is the winner this week, which means
yes, he is. Very good.
Oh, thank you, Karen and Paul. And that means no more flashcards for this week. So that's good.
That's right. Take a break.
It. We're back to a normal schedule then. So that's good.
There you go. You go looking for fat panthers and Bigfoot and maybe some UFOs for next week. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I think I might have mentioned this, but the last time we were down here, which was back in December, I was amazed to see a coyote trotting across the golf course.
Wow.
And I looked it up on the internet. And sure enough, there are 47 counties in the state of Florida, and each county is recognized as having a source or being a source for coyotes. So
one. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you get a picture, boy, we'll put it up on What in the World.
Well, if I get a picture, I'll definitely will, and we can compare it to our friend Bigfoot, and we'll know who's more sharp. We'll see who's sharper that way.
All right. Well, that means reached the end of another episode of What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, co-host, all-around great person. Thanks for everything you do for us, for all of the podcast at newclevelandradio.net. Please visit newclevelandradio.net, check out all the podcasts, find out where you can download us. Also, check out Yes I Can Coaching with Karen for all your coaching needs. Also, I want to thank John Dinallo, my buddy, host of What in the World of Sports, all around good guy, puts up with all my BS.
That's okay. It's all good, Paul. It's all good. Thanks.
There you go. And most of all, we thank all of you out there who listen to or watch our podcast every week. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this. You're the reason why we come back every week and try to we hopefully make you have as much fun as we do doing the podcast. So I want to mention that next week, for those who, we haven't been live in a while, but if we by some magic go live, the show will be on Wednesday of next week, not Tuesday. I think at 3:00. So look for us then. Follow me on Facebook. I always post the times up there as well. If you want to communicate with us, Facebook, my page is good. Go to newclevelandradio.net. We love to hear from you. We mention the people we hear from. We love to say hello to our friends all over the United States, all over the world, as a matter of fact. So again, that's it. I think we will check out, go back into the cold, and see everybody next week.
Bye,
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a great week.